shield them, to be able to control the intensity, the light color to be more yellow, things like that. So if they just kind of follow those guidelines, any light that they pick will probably work fine.
Does Jim Miller still run his lighting?
I kind of put Gary in touch with
him?
Jim, because he did our lighting on our house too, so I knew that I think he's still doing it, so. And then today, at the school, the three science teachers, Ms. Wallstrom, Mr. Benish, and Ms. Spoon, I was up there talking with them on they're putting together their next 7-year science curriculum, and they're changing some of the standards, and the state changed some of the standards, so we just talked a little bit about how they can incorporate some dark sky stuff into that curriculum. And then also during the Earth Day Saturday, I talked with Hannah Crosby about any outdoor lighting on her new building, and I presume the City Hall will look at dark sky friendly lighting if there's any outdoor lightings on the new building. Mm-hmm. So anyway, from there, so we a couple of our new members did a survey of lighting along Highway 61. They just started at the county line and just sort of looked at billboards and houses, and didn't, we weren't interested in shaming anybody, but we just wanted to get a high kind of a feel for what kind of lighting. And in general, there's a lot of lights that are really bright and point up to the sky. We asked a couple of the lighting. One, the co-op billboard coming into town, that billboard, the lights just point directly up, and we asked the co-op board if they might think about turning those off, and they have, so they won't be on anymore in the dark. And then there's another billboard just to the east of town that had lights the same way, and those are turned off on both sides, so that's good. Helps. Our group, Starry Skies North, has a sky quality meter, so we can actually make definitive lighting measurements wherever we want. So, if we see a spot that might be good for tourists to visit in dark sky situations, we can actually go and measure those and give an actual quality to the light. The Globe at Night campaign continues. Basically, it's any period around the new moon when it's the darkest, and their website, Globe at Night, displays constellations, certain ones depending on the season that we would see from our house, this area. And the views are basically ones that would be, if your sky was dark, you'd see a lot of stars, less stars, even fewer stars. And you basically just look up and you kind of see which one matches your view, and click on the button, and they record just the, what's the view from Grand Marais, and then they kind of get a survey all over the globe at every month, and kind of can track how much the lighting is getting better or worse. I think I mentioned at one time maybe to Mayor Tracy that there is a home lighting assessment dark sky self-certification now on the International Dark Sky website, where you can just kind of go through their little questionnaire, answer your lighting things, and if you comply to all those, answer all those questions satisfactorily, you can get a little certificate you can print up and display on your wall or whatever. So it would be kind of interesting if several people in town did that, maybe change some lighting, and who knows, grow a little bit. So that's all I have. Do you have any questions for me?
I think that self-certification's nice. Then, people are motivated and they want to learn something. There it is for them to do that themselves. And
yeah, so I think maybe we'll see if we can put some, they're just printouts, maybe we can put some in Visico County or somewhere, or maybe even get an article in the paper. We are trying to kind of work with WTIP, content and
Mhm.
sustainable content is always hard to do, so.
Yeah,
um,
well, and Boreal and.
Yeah, there's
the
all kinds of
paper
our,
and-
local
Sure.
ways to get that kind of out. That might be a good article. Northern Wilds would be another good.
Yeah, oh, yeah, completely. Well, you've already done, I think groups like yours have a lot more impact than what we can do. Really,
Yeah.
I mean, and I just look at your little list already, you're working with 3 different building
Mm-hmm.
groups already, so that's great.
Yep.
Yeah, appreciate it.
So we continue to muddle through, so we'll do our best.
Yeah,
and
well, thank you
Keep
for
trying to
your
move
effort.
forward.
Mm-hmm, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you very much.
All right. Next up is the city administration goals and our HR consultant contract with Rowena Claxton. A lot of this parallels some of the things we as a council talked about in our meeting. This, Mike also did a lot of work with Rowena putting together the goals that are included here. Is that right? Good way to summarize? I know you guys talked a couple times, right, Mike?
Yeah,
Once
for
or
sure,
twice
the
on
first
this. That,
4.
mm-hmm. Did you want to go over those first? With that?
Yeah, I would
Okay.
like that, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So what are we looking at here? This is the result of the recently created performance evaluation process that we're using. And the idea that as a part of every annual review, we're going to have annual goals, and that we'll periodically monitor those goals, and that I'm expecting to be having my performance evaluated based on the goals. And so where do they come from? That they're created through the feedback process that I get from staff and I get from you on things that you want to see improved or changed or focused on. So this page of goals is what I'm proposing.
It's 58, by the way, for anyone, right?
You're looking at the packet at home, that's right, page 58. And of course, we're a third of the way done with the year, so we're gonna, that's, maybe call that unwritten goal, is we're gonna do this faster next time. It's a new process for us. We're all learning together, so I appreciate everybody's patience and work on it with me. This is the result of a few meetings with the Personnel Committee, which is Tracy and Ben, and then Ravina and myself, to come up with what goals match up with the feedback that you offered me in last year's performance evaluation. And as you can see, there's quite a bit here. I consider this a pretty ambitious list, and it's going to require some additional assistance that we didn't have planned for in order to pull this off. Particularly the first chunk of this is very HR focused. And as you probably know, we don't have a separate HR department in the city. We have a lot of staff that have a role in our HR function, but we don't have anybody whose job it is to just focus on HR. So if we want to have a list like this that includes a lot of HR progress in terms of goals, then I'll need your help with that. And what I'm proposing is that we take Ravina up on her suggestion. So included after the goals is her proposal that she's submitted and her understanding of the work that is basically what these goals are, and the idea that she thinks that is at least a 16-hour a month, which, frankly isn't a lot, level of effort. So what I want to check in with you on is this list something that works for you? I've checked in already with the Personnel Committee, but for the whole council, I want to make sure we got this right before we move on from it. And then also, if this is what we want, can we please look at adding a little bit of assistance in the HR area? It's okay is great feedback, by the way. That works.
Are you
It's
still
good
reading, or
feedback.
I was giving you guys a minute? And, some of these things aren't Mike's alone. So like our projects, well, like the law enforcement agreement, that'll probably be a couple council people, it'll be city, be county, it'll be a group effort. The tax abatement policy piece, Mike's leading, we're all participating. City hall construction, that's Mike's stuff.
There's really very little that I do for my job that I would say I do alone. And at the top of the organization, I rely on good staff to get almost all the work done. And I rely on you to help as well. So I don't see any of this as a solo effort at all.
Which I think also speaks to the emphasis on human resources and cleaning up some of those processes and because we all understand the value that the staff bring, right? Making sure that we're doing, putting our best face on it too.
Yeah. I think bringing her expertise adds a level of efficiency when it's something you're doing all the time. She is contracted with other cities, so that angle is good for her too, not just private businesses, because there's special things in union related and all of that, and she's got that familiarity. So I think this is an efficiency piece to make sure that we're getting things done and getting us set off in the future in a good path, and just taking some things off Mike's plate, otherwise it's like, whoa, one other thing. And this is real specialized, constant lodge, especially this last safe and sixth time, and they're still messing around with, I shouldn't use that word, they're still modifying some of that, other pieces are in the change. So anyways, this is a good path forward. Any other comments or questions, thoughts? Craig, did you have anything?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right. Anything else, Mike, that you wanted to share? Just make sure I didn't cut you off or.
No, I'm
you're
looking
good?
for feedback too, so I appreciate you checking in with folks.
Okay. All right. With that, then if someone could make a motion for us to approve the contract with North Shore Human Resources Consulting.
Well, that's a good way to say it.
Oh, would you like the approval of goals?
We'll need a contract, though, and I don't have that in the packet. So we do have a template for professional services that we use that's different than her proposal that she had provided,
Okay.
that I'm preparing
Excuse
right
me.
now, but I don't have it for you to look at. So I think it's just a motion to, the concept of hiring her at the 16-hour-a-month level, and then I'll incorporate that into an actual contract that you can
Okay.
look at a future meeting.
So we won't use this one, but we will we still approve that now, or wait?
Yeah,
till-
if you want to just approve it now, I think that's good feedback for her. She knows we're on board.
Yeah, she can get rolling. Okay. Should we, well, okay, we'll just go with that, and then we'll go back to goals and just confirm we're all, have a verbal confirmation on that. All right, so, approval for contracting with North Shore Human Resources Consulting, a motion for that?
Yeah, I'll put a motion to contract with North Shore Human Resource Consulting at that 16-hour-a-month level.
And that would, I'm thinking that's kind of a max, right? I see she had different.
I actually think
Time.
that is kind of a minimum.
Oh,
is-
okay.
Is the way that she's talking about it and the way I imagine it too. We've got this specific list of projects that we will be using her assistance for, that's the top 4 goals on my page.
Okay.
And I don't know that we can be sure how much effort it's going to take to get those done yet, but I think that it's more of a baseline, that 16 hours a month,
Okay.
and we might need more than that. So I did some math and thought, well, what if we put something $15,000 maximum in a contract with her that we wouldn't go over without prior discussion?
Sure.
That covers the retainer plus a little extra for just in case.
Sure, because, yeah, I see she had the 3 sets of hours, and that was the most, that's why I looked, okay, I get it, that's fine. And then a minimum, yeah, all right,
Yeah, I think however that contract reads is fine.
okay. Second for that, or did we?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Okay, all in favor of consulting with North Shore Human Resources Consulting? Craig?
Aye.
Ben?
Aye.
William?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Did you want something verbal from all of us for goals as well? Would that be good?
I'm going to take your lack of a no as a yes, and I'm okay with that. So I think it's just important to note that things happen and come up, and that these are not in granite. These are our intentions today. Part of our intentions also is a regular check-in on progress of this, so I'm going to be providing that to you, but we're also going to have some organized check-ins with the Personnel Committee about these. And if there's any time when any of you feel like something's not working, or this goal doesn't match what you want us to be focusing on, or something's missing, then just please speak up, and we'll make those changes.
Yeah, this is a work in progress, like Mike said, and we already know we're going to tighten up that whole process for review this coming year and get that set up. So yeah, we've got a template, so to speak, with the goals, and we'll keep working them along. Thank you all.
I agree with Mike. It's a very enthusiastic list, and with 3/4 of a year to accomplish it. So I'm looking forward to those updates. And I think we talked about in the HR, if things aren't, if they're off track, we need feedback too. It's like, hey, we're not, you need more help, or we need more time, or I'm getting loaded down with other stuff, right? Well, then let's just communicate that, because we don't want to go into December and January and go, well, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's kind of even like Mike with his staff, that's the point of having those quarterly check-ins, to know for those people if they're on track or not, or do they need more resources or wherever. And I think we should be following that same thing. And yeah, like you say, no one wants surprises, and that's not the point.
We don't
And
want
it's
to provide
goals.
those, yeah, right.
So you just make a plan, and then we'll go from there. All right, thank you
Yeah,
all.
but it looks great, Mike.
Yeah. Council and staff reports. Craig?
Yeah, we had a Parks and Trails meeting yesterday afternoon, but I wasn't able to view that. So I'll be watching that, and then I'll take notes off of it so I can report at the next city council meeting. But earlier today, we did have a Public Utilities Commission meeting, and the only item on the list really was to form a new contract with G&G Septic, basically because they are the only significant industrial user we have to our wastewater treatment plant, and so therefore we have a contract with them, and that contract was rewritten from the contract of 2010 that ran to 2015, and it incorporated some new language that the MPCA requires us to have in the contract. So basically, that is what we did today at the PUC meeting, is to approve a new contract that was written up by our city attorney's group. And now that it's been approved, I'm sure it's got to get moved down to G&G to be signed. And then we'll be this will be a 5-year contract, which has rates in it at what they pay for gray water and septic waste. So other than that, it's basically an updating of the contract that we had. This will be reviewed every year, and there's testing that G&G has to do on their part that we require them to do That's mandated by the MPCA, so that we keep records of everything that they're doing, what they're dumping into the system, so we can monitor it. So it just keeps us on the up and up with monitoring and record keeping for the wastewater treatment plant. So I guess that's about it in a nutshell, I guess. Anybody got any questions? Go ahead. Otherwise, that's it.
Okay. Thank you. Ben?
No,
Oh, did you have something else, Craig? No, okay.
Nope, no meetings. Do we have a planning and zoning next week? I don't know. I haven't seen that paper.
It's coming out tomorrow.
Okay.
All right.
I do not.
Okay. The Emergency Preparedness Conference was over the weekend. I just gave a little opening welcome along with Ann Sullivan. I couldn't attend the rest of that, but I heard afterwards it was very well done, some great speakers and some really neat programming, and they just do a nice job with that. Really, it's great that we have that here. We had our third meeting with the RCPI, and that is the Great Lakes St. Lawrence St. Lawrence Cities Initiative. That is the program that we initially asked them to help us with East Bay and the scope of what they could do. We had them also look at the rest of the main harbor, and we settled on Boulder Park and back over to, as far across out to the street. And so they came back with some high level on that, and we met to kind of sign off. We had quite a bit of discussion if some of that should be going down farther into the parking lot or not, and Dave Tierstig wanted to really make awareness of some of the, not really, the metal sheeting goes all the way down to the boat ramp on that east side of the harbor. And of course, the boats tie up there. And so we kind of talked through all of that and things that we thought were important. After much discussion, we kept it where we're at Boulder Park. And then they will finalize with that, and then next steps would also be to put us in contact with people for grant funding and help with those next steps to work through some of their concepts, which is basically to shore up a lot of that's eroding underneath that sheet piling that they constantly have to refill, and then the sheet piling's a mess and whatever. But we made it very clear it's really important to keep the boat tie-ups when you get farther down. We don't want to lose any of that space. So that's where we landed, right?
Yeah.
And that, so we'll see how that comes out. We had an EDA meeting this past week, finalized the sale of a lot to Jeremy Larson. A lot of the rest were resolutions around some of the dollars coming in, mostly from the IRRR, for which EDA will be agent for some of those different projects coming through. And then they did a smaller loan for the Switchback Village, very good interest rate, but $200,000, and then they needed another $300,000. They were $500 short for their final financing, so the EDA is helping with part of that loan. I'm not sure the rest, the other $300 is coming from. And an offer letter came in for one lot, but the amount was fairly low. So we'll have a discussion with that individual. And that's it. Yeah, there we go.
Oh.
So, anything else?
I got two
Otherwise,
quick things.
Yeah.
After the Utilities Commission meeting today, we did a quick tour for members present of the wastewater plant. And Councilor Lovis was also able to join us, so it's a little more of onboarding for him. But if there's other folks that haven't been able to do that before, let me know. It's a great tour. it's a beautiful piece of property anyhow, and lots of important things going on there, so, which was nice to see one of the Mayor for the Day candidates focus on that issue. We're definitely going to have to ask for permission to borrow that 10 seconds to shop around the idea that we might need some money for fixing that. That's great.
And it's this week, the monies, not the monies, but the letters
We're-
need to be in?
We're currently applying, have already submitted to Stauber's office, and are submitting to Senator Smith and Klobuchar's offices a request for federal assistance for that project. So,
This makes year number 2 for that
Year number
request,
2.
right?
Yep.
Okay.
so the other issue is, we talked a little bit about the tax forfeited property at a previous meeting next to the Heights development, and that it makes sense for the city to be the one that acquires that property from the county. And just offered a little additional information via email earlier today. And wanted to check in and make sure that everybody understood that, and that does it make sense still for us to be the intermediaries here and acquire that property from the county? If anybody had any questions about that, I guess start there.
I don't, but that's because I thought this does make sense, right? After
Yeah.
you've had all your discussions?
I think
Okay.
it's made sense from the start, but it is still, we'll be acquiring another piece of property, and I know that's a big deal, so I want to make sure that we're all okay with that before moving forward. So to me, why it makes sense is, it's been sitting there tax forfeited for a very long time, and so clearly there's not a big market for it. None of the adjacent property owners had made any offers on it previously. That it's useful to meet the goal of additional housing. It allows for the potential increase in the number of units that might be able to be built on that property, rather than using it to do a stormwater pond, which I think makes a lot of sense. And then the fact that if we acquire it from the county without any strings attached on the deed, so that we really don't have, we can do what we want with it. And in this case, what we want to do is have a stormwater pond built on it that serves this adjacent property. But potentially, we could give the property to them, so that there isn't any strings or relationships between us. It's just clear that it's theirs to own and operate and maintain, and pay taxes on, frankly, which is a good thing for the community moving forward. But if for some reason we decide we don't want to do that, we have the ability to license it for that use to them, with the same understanding that they're responsible for constructing and maintaining it. So I just think there's really not a bad way for us to go on this. That it's helpful for the city to be involved, for the developers, and it ends up doing a good result for us too.
I guess the one thing that I had a question on is, so the Heights came to us and wanted to talk about abatement, right? And because there's 3 mechanisms by which a city or municipality can support a project, either through the giving of land, or an abatement, or a special taxing district. Does this land have any value that could be applied toward some of that grant that they had already possibly been awarded? I guess I don't know for sure if they have or not.
Well, I know what you're asking. I think the context of Jason's original comment about that was that we can provide those things as match towards grant funding, and that they kind of work equally well as match toward grant funding. I don't know that that's the gap for this development, is that they have enough match towards grant funding. So if it is, then for sure that we could establish a value for this, although I don't think it'll be very high, and use it as match towards somebody else's grant that requires a local participation. I don't think it's going to change what they ask you to provide in tax abatement. And of course, you've already said this is the maximum number that you are willing to consider. They still need to do a little more work on their budget before they come back with a real ask for you, which I think we should expect pretty quickly here. That they're getting some final numbers in, and then Eller's working through the HRA, or on behalf of the HRA, will be reviewing that their last bit of budget, and then they'll be ready to come to the county and the city and say, okay, this is what we think we need for abatement on this project.
Is this, and you may have said this, is this piece of land easily accessible by any existing road now?
It's not. No, it's
That's what I
adjacent
thought.
to rights-of-ways that are not constructed. So it's adjacent to First Street, for instance, well past west of where First Street is constructed. So that's not, I mean, you can walk to it from a few places, but no, it's, and there's physical impediments to road and utilities going through there, including ravines and streams and wetlands and rock and other things, and it's why it hasn't been developed yet.
Does it butt up to the, what do they call it now? I guess Blue Moose.
Yeah.
So does Blue Moose come up and it hits like this, or it hits, I mean, does it hit right up to
No,
there?
the north line of the Blue Moose property is the same as the north line of the Heights property.
Okay.
So this actually just goes right across the top of both of them,
Oh, all right.
not the whole top of both of them.
Oh, that's-
Touches
okay.
the top of both of them.
Because what I'm seeing to the right of this diagram is actually Blue Moose property.
Mhm.
Okay. I was thinking it was down a little bit more. Okay. Thank you, that helps. All right. Did you need a motion for this?
I'm happy to just take your thoughts on it. The county is ready to move on this, and so I can just send them a note to say, please proceed, if that makes sense to folks. If you want to do that by motion, that's great. If it's just want to do head nods, that works for me.
Because we're online, I suppose we need a verbal, right? Like we did for roll call at least. I'll just do that. Craig?
Yes, I approve to work with the county on this.
Righty. Ben?
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
Okay. William?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
we'll
Very good.
proceed.
Thank you for getting that followed up.
And then just a scheduling note, next week, Wednesday through Friday, I'll be attending the Minnesota City Manager Association Annual Conference. So I will not be here.
Oh, and our next meeting, our first meeting in May, just a reminder now so we can forget again.
We're at the community center. The meeting will kick off early. The MPCA will be here to hold a public meeting for the renewal of our wastewater plant license. And I think we should just schedule the council meeting to be concurrent with that and then kick off our regular business right after they're done. And I think that's at 5:30
This is on the 8th?
on May 8th, yeah. So schedule aside, we'll be at the community center.
Okay.
Is that?
Yeah.
All right. We are all finished for the evening. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Craig. Night.
Yep. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Robert.